Back with another video. Wait.
Bebop and Rocksteady.
There you go, difficulty.
There you go.
Alright, so we're going to leave it on what it is here. So Alpha is going to go ahead and lead this. We're doing the Ninja Turtles here. What do you want to put it on?
I'm just going normal.
Alright, fine. We'll do normal. Oh, wait. We're doing this on my profile anyway. We did it on a different profile when we played it before. Alright, so hold on. We got started all over.
I thought we were still starting it from the beginning anyway, right?
We are, but we got to do the everything. Everything's got to be done all over again. I'm going to stop the recording and leave the streaming on. Testing, testing. 1, 2, 12. It's other yellow hat guy here, back with another video, and we've got Alpha, Dog, Wolf in the house today. We're gonna play some Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Wrath of the Mutants, the arcade version. So I already did my intro once; you didn't hear it probably, so we're gonna do it again. Let's see, do I have controls this time? I do. Oh wait, there was a save game button and everything? Did I see that right? Oh, delete a save game. Okay, we don't want to mess with any of that. And then where did you go to do what you were doing?
I just went to play.
No, where it had... Oh, we did the normal. Okay, let's just do that. Now, if we lose on normal, it's Alpha Assault. I would have just done it on easy. So let's just jump in here and do this.
I don't even know if there's a set number of continues that you get. I don't know. Alright, so...
Yeah, Donatello. The best turtle.
Yep.
Leo.
Pretty good with my stick. Staff.
Build a button by fighting baddies. You can unleash turtle power.
Turtle power.
Here come the foot. Don't let them get away.
Other yellow hack.
From your... Okay.
Here, I'll let you get that.
Nice.
Alright. Bye. What? They're having a girls' weekend. Oh, there you go. So they're all trashed.
Why is she still fighting? I'm not even...
Money from one of their accounts.
Is that controllers that going on here?
I have no idea. Are you not able to move?
I can't move away from it.
Interesting. Press that middle sync button thing there. Oh, it stopped now.
From it, but... Feels like a little delay.
I don't know what that did. My one gripe, like I said, when we messed with this before, was just no music.
But
And then he wakes up and gets back over there. And I can't like get away from it. He's just attracted to the light poles. And now he's just like attacking on his own.
no. Hold on, let me look at it again.
Oh, that's not
Well, at least you're always fighting somebody.
auto attack.
Are you pushing a button that maybe like auto or something?
You have turbo control.
Oh, okay, never mind.
There might be.
I haven't pulled it out yet. Alright, I got it.
Is it like supposed to be flat?
Okay, bye bye. I can't do
I don't see where to disengage it.
Press that middle button and the Y button at the same time. Sorry, y'all. We're using a third-party controller. You go ahead and get that pizza.
Got some pizza here.
I'm trying to remember this pattern.
What the heck?
Was it friendly fire now?
You
Oh, yeah,
picked the
crackhead be
wrong
like-
time to mess with me. Quit dash and
What on? Maybe on normal? The friendly fire is on? Dang, I died and couldn't use the... Oh, there we go.
Still gonna use it.
Now you see me?
And I died. Shell shot.
Did he really say Shimon?
He did.
Confirm to move. No, we don't want to do that.
He sounds like he's enjoying that video.
He really is. Like, I'm surprised he didn't just have like one glove on.
Oh, this
Yeah,
guy
but
car
Fedora.
rolls out.
You need a timeout. Fantastic.
I read something on Facebook today that said it's only been 51 days of the year so far. I'm like, you mean 151?
And I'm like, I was just telling my boss today, I was like, this year has gone by quickly. I can't believe February's almost over.
It's go time.
Yeah. Almost March.
My mom's birthday's next month. Maybe I can give her her Christmas present.
What day is hers?
March 25th.
Okay. Well, happy early birthday, Mom.
Yeah. And Supriya, my work wife, you know Supriya.
Mhm.
Hers is
You need a
15th.
I know 2 women named Supriya, but not one guy named Muhammad. Go figure. It's a popular name in the planet, and don't know anybody with
I
that.
no longer have any friends with that name.
Getting it done.
Last Muhammad I had that was my friend was whenever I was married.
Oh,
What the heck?
I might have hit something. I'm trying to hit the turtle power thing.
My remote controller tripping
Which
over.
I just wasted, by the way. Nope, just a minute.
There's Muhammad at work. I think I'll try to befriend him. just because like I have to have a Muhammad in my life.
If your name is Muhammad, like, comment, subscribe. Share.
Jamie wants to be your friend.
I want to be your friend. I'm collecting all the popular names.
Take these guys out.
Leatherhead.
That's not on my list.
Leatherhead's not a popular name. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, so the house across the street from you, Leonard, is now impending. So it looks like
Their house or her house?
her house. Like the one you just went through.
Yeah, okay.
Blasphemy.
How? Hold on. Where am I at?
I think you just gotta pick a turtle. Oh. I didn't hit start in time.
What does that mean?
It's go time.
I'm back.
It's funny how it's impending and yet there's not a sign in the yard or anything.
Yeah, I checked this morning whenever I was on my break and I was like in the house.
Because Chad is upset that she's moving. He was like, well, she was cute. Now we're going to get some Uggo, is what he said.
Oh my god.
And I had to remind him, I was like, you know how hard it is to like live by yourself right now?
Yes.
Like, yes, the rent is cheaper in a house than an apartment if you're looking at a mortgage, but you're still responsible for the bills and the maintenance of that property. But it's even harder when you lose your income and your parents are paying your mortgage and they decide, hey, we're no longer going to do that. You probably need to get that really quick.
You need a timeout.
But this is what we get for doing it on normal. We should have done it on easy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Alpha's always got to try to be an overachiever.
Heads up.
Overachiever.
Well, so you say an hour-long game turns into like 2 hours because it's on normal. But hey, it says 0 continues, so what's going to happen when we run out?
I guess that's just trying to make it to the level.
Like, does it mean, oh, you have 2 continues for that level, or like the whole playthrough? Because we got through like 2 or 3 levels last time with Paul. I don't know if we were on normal with Paul or if we were on easy when he was playing.
Can I, once you're done with this,
Can you join in?
forward, no, before you move forward, I'm going to go that way.
You can go ahead now.
Oh, I just didn't want to.
You good?
Hold on, come back this way if you can. Not you, him.
Oh.
So I can grab this turtle power thing.
Alright, coming back.
Oh,
It's just
diddums. Oh, you got
that
it.
side to get it from that side. It's alright. Cinnamon roll.
Very sorry, comrades, but you are no match for the Rocksteady.
Yeah.
You don't have a chance, Rocksteady.
As soon as he showed up, it said turtle power.
Slice and dice. It's go time.
Still playing, even though it says no continue.
I know. He said that angrily.
Feral power!
This sugar.
Are you the other half of it?
This is the best sugar cookie I've had in my life. I'm not even exaggerating. It's the perfect texture.
Bryce is calling me.
And down goes Frazier.
Yo, what's up? So the minimum. So yeah, all the money I gave you should cover the minimum. So everything should be 5 except for Hi-Fi Rush because that's the collector's edition. I think they want 20. You can confirm that with them, but I gave you enough to cover 20. Yeah, buying the Shantae outright. So it's like, yeah, so I gave you 38, which you covered at 35 plus tax. Hey, what they got at the $10 ticket for the discount?
They got like some moving bottle. They got some, triple H items that are marked down, but they don't really have like $10 ticket like that. This was the last time we were here.
Okay, that's all good. They don't worry about it. Yeah, just the stuff that I planned, and that was it. Alright, appreciate you.
So we're gonna go from NYC to TCIR.
Me a little bit. Especially the dynamic when you go between the spinach and the cheese, and then you go to that. So, which one are we doing next?
Are we not doing this again? Oh, you can change the difficulty again or something?
Oh, I guess you don't choose the order. You just, you choose the order. But
You gotta join in or what?
hold on. Leo.
I don't know why it did that.
That's weird.
I should have just kept going.
Pick up and throw objects at your opponent.
You can throw the pink teddy bears.
No pink teddy bears. I wonder if they have like little squishy bears.
Brain droids, I hate these guys.
It is the ones called turtles.
I need to go get like a dozen.
Let me get what?
Sugar cookies?
A dozen of these sugar cookies. Just so good.
Gotta find the scones.
Yeah, those scones are like rare fine. Those are the best scones I've ever had. Oh, is that me? Oh, is that me? Little fake Terminator? Fakeinator.
You know, when you look at this level, this feels like it could be like a final level.
Yeah, because of the elevator scene.
Yeah. All these beat 'em ups, like you're on an elevator. It's like, oh, that's the last level.
We've just been programmed because of that, our childhood. Zapping me, boy. Take that.
Too cool.
And every time he shows up, I'm like, I gotta fight him.
And shell shot.
It's go time.
I'm guessing those continues only mean something on the hard difficulty.
Or, well, I guess, because we both did die when it's at 0. I'm gonna take that.
Oh, my fault. I didn't mean to.
You need bananas? You need bananas? I brought banana walnut bread. My favorite thing.
Fantastic.
And we got Taurus power anyway, so. I'm wondering if we did it at the same time, if there would be like some kind of super double effect. Oh, he got the last shot thing. Wow, nice. Ah, no, that's the hell out of it.
Yeah, they got both of us there.
You have not seen the last of me, Turtles.
Hour-long game, and they choose this guy.
Fish face.
Not Baxter Stockman. They chose this guy.
That's all you got, kids? What are you
He
doing?
definitely went from the original 90s version.
That's two robot legs and
Oh,
stop
And they got us both.
ah. Okay, fish face.
Impressive. No, this. One of a kind.
Oh,
You are that.
there you go. There's your ass now.
Hyper combo finish!
Well, that's the last we'll see of him.
Surrender.
Oh, wow. It's creeping me out as those little praying things crawling on the ground.
And shell shot again.
It would be interesting if you could revive somebody like Scott Pilgrim did.
Yeah. The new Scott Pilgrim coming out March 3rd.
Surrender or be disadvantages are
You got hit with a lunchbox, son.
Booyakasha!
Turtle power time.
There we go.
Get these guys off the screen.
Who's next?
Shell shot again.
It's go time.
You douchebags with these lasers, go away.
It's all over but the ball.
So they can get you off the screen. No! Double now. There you go.
Awesome! I'm a superhero!
I need that, I need
Go
that.
ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
Pizza!
Yeah.
Well, more pizza, okay. But still.
You should have minded your own business, you guys. Now, face the consequences.
Yeah.
Annoy me? Is that you take me for a fool?
It's showtime. Turtle power! Slice and dice!
Most impressive. I'm sure you can do better than that. Turtle power!
It did nothing to him? Oh.
No, it did. He got out of the way for.
You can do better than that.
It still like drained his health a lot.
Most
Most impressive. I'm gonna lay down,
That's
Vladimir.
Ninja justice. Krang droids, I hate these guys.
Prepare for the next level. I see the light at the end, and every time I take a step, it gets dim. Tell me, is this hell we're living in? If so, heaven gotta be better, but if we're hellbound, whatever, let's go down. Okay, so back to, let's go to the sewers. Sewers, amusement park, then Dimension X. You jumping in?
Oh, yeah, I keep forgetting that you have to, like, jump back in. Let's do this stuff.
Ooh, young boy.
That's what she said. We'll get it up there somewhere. There we
That's
go.
what she said.
Yep. We were watching Always Sunny in Philadelphia. And there was a very savage episode where one guy slept with his friend's mom. And to get back at him,
Oh, snap.
there was this master manipulation course of like, if you want to get your job back at this, I don't know, I can't explain it, but you explain it to her.
So the one girl and guy wanted to work back at the bar, and
Instead of cleaning like bathrooms and
yeah,
stuff like
instead of doing that, they wanted back their old jobs. And so the guy gets the girl involved by telling her that we can, get our jobs back if we do this. And so it's like a whole thing where, like, she picks up the guy that's doing the mom. She picks up his girlfriend and brings him to the mom's house, and she can see him going in the house and all. And then I don't remember who else.
So to add to context, the guy who was sleeping with the other guy's mom, it had nothing to do with him. The two coworkers wanted to get their regular jobs back at the bar instead of cleaning toilets. So the guy who was in charge, they tried to blackmail him and say, look, I'm going to sleep with the girl that you like unless you give me that job back. And before he could agree to letting him do it, another guy comes in and is like, oh, by the way, I banged what's-his-name's mom. He's like, oh, did you? So he's like, oh, I'm going to use this to my advantage and tell the girl that is the other coworker that's cleaning, instead of letting him blackmail me, I want you to double-cross him and let the girl that I like, that he's trying to sleep with, let her see that he's sleeping with these other people. So she would drive around and show him at these different women's houses. All the while, he tells the other dude who's blackmailed him, look, if you want to get back at the other guy who slept with your mom, you need to sleep with his mom. So while he's trying to sleep with his mom, what is going on? The other girl is driving the girl he likes around to see him try to sleep with the other guy's mom. So he acts like he's not threatened at all that she's, gonna sleep with the dude because. So what does she do to get back at him? or what happens at the end of it, the girl who was trying to get out of the toilet stuff and working at the bar, she... Oh, sorry.
Yeah, you can just go ahead and use your super.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. She says, look, only way to get back at Dennis, I think that's what his name is, for sleeping or trying to sleep with all these other girls, is to sleep with Charlie, who she doesn't want to sleep with at all, but Charlie's the one that likes her. But instead of sleeping with Charlie, she sleeps with his dad.
Oh my god.
Yes. Why does Chrome Dome look like he's mixed with Kung Lao from Mortal Kombat?
Yeah, that's exactly what it looks like.
That is not the Chrome Dome from the 90s that I have the action figure for. Oh, he threw us both. So say you had a turtle power.
Well, didn't have to use it.
Game over, boy.
Oh, we're still going.
Damn, I lost that many points? I guess because I had to restart or something?
I can take these punks with my eyes closed.
I think you can hit that. There we go.
What are you making this time?
The hell are those things? What is it?
I'm not making it for him. Oh.
What is it?
Waluigi. I mean,
Oh.
Wario.
Yeah, it's for Hobby.
Yeah. He's saying he's gonna love that. Oh. Yeah.
Well, I already told her that you were making it for him.
And I just temporarily forgot.
And I guess she's starting with the feet.
Yeah.
So cute and so deadly.
I was say we both had the power up there. Yours is like a whole bunch of fire around it. And maybe they all do, I just noticed it on yours more. Dang it.
Can't grab the turtle power with a boxing man.
Yeah, that's so lame. Additionally, if somebody has the turtle power going on, I can't pick up another item until your animation is finished.
That's how we do it.
You need a timeout.
What is that timer? Oh, it was you moving around a different turtle.
Yeah.
Keep on coming.
Hold on. Oh, we can't go up there.
Fantastic.
Okay. I'll take that pizza.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just noticed you had full health, so. That was a lot of enemies right there. I'm proud of myself for that.
Yeah. Oh, and I wasted this thing.
No, here come some guys right here. I hate those little Mausers. You see those National Geographic pictures where they would try to show like parts of Africa where they needed help, and they would show like the tsetse flies and all that on people, just like normal talking. When we were kids playing these Ninja Turtle games, we were like, yeah, those Mausers are like those. You're just trying to move and things are all over you, snapping at you. Especially in that sewer level where you're on those little hoverboards. Some things were everywhere. Oh, here he is.
Baxter Flyboy.
Is he black?
Until I get my hands on you.
No, the original one, and even in the comics, is black.
I know the original one was black.
This one looked like he got like some kind of hairstyle that makes him look like he could be. Did he just vomit on us?
It was just so funny they had him as Tyler Perry in that movie.
We've never seen his power yet.
Down goes Baxter.
That the best you can do, Baxter? Time to go, boys.
They should. You know what makes sense? The fish should be in the water, like in the sewer.
Yeah.
Baxter should have been in the science building, the TCRI, or TGRI. I don't remember which.
Yeah. In this game they called it TCRI, but it was always
TGRI. Yeah.
See, in this game they changed. I guess because Nickelodeon they had to do something different with the license. I don't know.
Yeah, I have no idea. It's like maybe like a misprint or something. Okay, we're actually moving through this pretty quickly. This might be the first game of the year that I finish entirely.
Yay!
I know.
This would be my.
This time last year, I think I had like 2 or 3 already finished.
Build the button by fighting bad guys. You can unleash turtle power.
Yeah, like we don't know this 5 levels in.
Unleash turtle power. But I guess because it's an arcade game, so somebody would jump in and they don't know, maybe.
Or
maybe because you change characters, I think it's a weird.
I feel like also like the loading screen on this one was long to get to this one, so it was just filler.
Can we actually do it? How far can we go back out? Nope. Oh, that's just decoration.
Somebody somewhere has got some Coke or Pepsi and some pizzas, and they're playing this.
Somebody. Either that or they're just playing through Shredder's Revenge again.
Did you want me to order pizza?
No. Well,
I mean, he's saying no. I'm
I'm not speaking for him.
I started to do it earlier, but I was redeeming all of my birthday coupons, and I got like a Chili's like cake or something, like not cake, like a little dessert thing and all that. And I picked that up on the way home, and then he showed up. I still got to go to IHOP sometime.
I still haven't used the AMC movie voucher that, or the card that Kari and Ann gave me.
I haven't even used the card that.
Oh, there's a pink teddy bear.
Here we go.
I still have a gift
You
card
need to
from
go ahead and get the pizza.
birthdays ago. For Old Navy. Oh. Everything I'm wearing right now
can do better
Well,
than
because
that.
no, not the shirt. Well, because I didn't use it because I knew I was going to be having surgery and all that. So I was like, and now I gotta
I hate those laces.
So I'm doing that possibly next month. Oh, that's exciting.
You know that foot soldier didn't even wash his hands. He just came right out the bathroom. Dirty ninjas.
Yeah.
Can't stand these things. Tsetse flies, go away.
Rumble time.
I remember the things we used to always think of is, okay, so Donatello has this stick, at least gives him reach, right? And it's not fair that he's got the stick compared to like Leonardo with 2 swords. It's like, why don't you just give him a sword too? You really have to have 2? But then you look at Wrath, and the way they would draw those sais, they look like forks in his hands. But you actually hold a real sai in real life, those things are pretty big. They would really hurt somebody.
Another teddy bear. Can't pick it up though.
I was able to pick it up. I think I was the one that threw it.
Oh, yeah,
Why is it always him?
I know that metalhead too.
Yeah, but it's mostly... Well, yeah, you're right. Is this those 2?
Yeah.
What about, like, the frogs?
I guess they had a limited budget.
Dang, I died already?
Let's see who's gonna get hit by this lightning first.
What?
Yeah, sounds like Jim Carrey.
I think he would have done well in a Ninja Turtles movie. Like, he could have played, like, a Baxter Stockman or something like that.
Yep, I do. I can't say anything. I do watch them too. I can't get this shape right.
He said, I'm tired of
I'll do
those
it for a
guys.
while, and then I'll stop, and I'll lose the pattern and forget it. Oh no. Just take us out and start over.
I love it.
I have so much yarn for that. Because I'll like, you know, just have all these random projects in different places.
Rumble time.
I know Michael's is having a big yarn sale, and I'm like, I really have a
That
lot
whole
of
Ferris
yarn.
wheel, not Ferris.
The Creep. What the hell is this?
Michael's gift cards. So. Yeah,
They just made up somebody?
I call the translator.
I'm a
So
weirdo.
I already used that. That's why I wanted to.
What the hell am I doing here?
Sale one too. My brother.
I don't belong here.
Okay. Hey.
It's go time.
I jumped that time. He's wearing overalls. He's like
Hey, there's my brother.
SWAT thing, and
Hello?
It's like the creature in the Men in Black movie.
it's somebody named Muhammad.
Hey, there you go. Yeah.
Ooh, it's all over but falling down, Joel.
Why does that sound like a cat? Didn't you hear that? It sounded like wow. You hear it? No. Those guys can go rot in hell. I was trying to save it, but no.
Too cool. Watch your step.
Uh-oh.
It's
This
pretty
looks
dark here.
scary. I feel like that picture's gonna fly off the wall.
Oh, we will.
What the hell?
The hell is that?
It's like $30. Yeah, I was complaining to Alpha about their prices.
Turtle power.
Yeah, 'cause it looked like a Panera sandwich when you showed it.
That's getting it done. Had enough punk.
Dude, Alpha and I went to Whataburger. I got a junior sandwich. He got a regular sandwich, and we got 2 shakes. And it was like, what, $35?
Oh my gosh.
It was insane. You like Whataburger? Okay. Well, there's a ton. Okay, next time you come down for a baseball game,
Okay.
where you get the Canada Express, there's a Whataburger
That's
on
getting
that
it
same
done.
road.
Hold on, let's go. Okay, there we go.
Oh, we've got a ton now.
Oh.
They all opened up around the same time.
Me too? We both died? Yeah.
Double shell. Surprised the picture doesn't fall.
I don't like blue cheese. Yeah.
Got shot.
Yeah.
Pizza time. Turtle power.
Awesome.
I'm a superhero.
Oh my gosh. All of that just to try to jump scare you?
Yeah. Yeah, you know, when I moved down here, there's so many people who've never heard of it. This is something they've ever heard in life.
So what?
I swear, I promise you.
A banana what?
Have y'all ever had banana and mayonnaise sandwich?
No, it's disgusting.
I had somebody just say something about that this week. I was like, I don't know
I
about
know
that.
somebody else at work said something about that. It is delicious.
It is gross.
Have you tried it?
If you
I don't really like
are into that,
that.
unsubscribe.
Wait, what? What?
I said if you're into that, unsubscribe.
That is one of my favorite sandwiches. Have that and then some barbecue potato chips. Oh, that is summer in a meal. Yep. It has to be white bread.
Why does it have to be white?
Because
Black
it-
History Month.
Because I don't want to. You don't want to put it on burnt toast.
Why can't it
No,
be
but it
wheat?
tastes best with white bread.
You got your superhero.
Why can't it be wheat?
I mean, you can try it on wheat, but you get the honey wheat
Or
throws
rye.
off the top. I mean, it just throws off the taste. It's gonna change the taste. It won't be as good.
It might be better
You
then.
want that. You want that shit as bland as possible. White bread.
I'd rather not.
Accept change.
Victory.
Okay, let's hurry.
Two more
Ooh,
rounds.
that would be. Yeah, I've seen that. That would.
What do you put on it?
No, literally, it's
Peanut
white
butter.
bread. No. It's white bread, Duke's mayonnaise,
And peanut butter.
and sliced up banana. That's it. No peanut butter.
No pepper, nothing.
No pepper, nothing. No salt, no pepper, no nothing. Because
No cilantro.
no cilantro. No. No, but yeah. It's
Are these
like-
fried bananas?
No, they're just regular bananas. You peel a banana and you
Okay.
cut it, preferably long way.
So dimension
I
X.
eat them all the fucking time. What do you mean last time I had one? Whatever it was the last time I bought bananas. Oh, that's crazy. All the time.
I really want to describe visually what that sounds like, but I'm not going to do it because somebody out there is a kid watching like Ninja Turtles.
Did you ever eat tomato sandwiches?
I
Yeah.
have.
My brother calls them mater sandwiches. Yeah. Mater. Like Duke's mayonnaise, ketchup, salt, and sliced up fresh tomato.
This definitely has like last level vibes.
I don't like tomatoes.
So it's not the last level.
No,
No.
like the penultimate.
Sorry.
That's how you know we're very white and very
You need a timeout.
I can't, yeah. It's so funny. Like, everybody who says, ew, that sounds gross, they never tried it. I'm like, mustard sandwich? No. I know you, yeah, I know you like mustard sandwiches. I like the ketchup sandwiches. I used to put ketchup on my biscuits. Like, you used to cut a biscuit in half and put ketchup.
A little help here.
Oh, I don't like ketchup. You would do that gross thing where you would mix your like jam and butter.
I almost used my turtle power
And it looked like
out of frustration.
yeah.
Disgust for these mayonnaise sandwiches. They sound like struggle meals, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because some people we knew had toothpaste and white bread sandwiches because they didn't have anything else to eat.
You had a garden. Yeah, it's basically honey butter.
So I think toothpaste and bread, I'm like, oh, that's poverty. But stuff like peanut butter and pickles sounds a little bit better than.
Peanut butter and pickles sounds disgusting.
I think that sounds better than bananas and mayo.
I'm telling you.
Because I can do tomato and mayo possibly. That's close to like BLT.
Yeah.
But the bananas being sweet and the mayo being.
I'm telling you. It doesn't sound like it would work, but I promise you.
She's like, everybody who's says it's gross has never had it, and it's like, I've never had goat testicles either, but I'm pretty sure that's gross.
Yeah, Duke's mayonnaise is the best mayonnaise, but you can do it with like the muffins. That's what I use. I was gonna say I only use
I was just telling the guy in the store that was telling me about the whole mayonnaise and banana sandwich. About I had a teacher that used to eat hog brains and eggs.
Oh, I accidentally used it after using
hog
it.
brains and eggs.
How did y'all even bring that up? Like, he just randomly started talking to me about.
No, we're
I
talking
don't
about
know.
food.
He was talking. Yeah, we were standing in line. It was the $5 chicken day, right? At Harris Theater. So we were standing in line talking about food and stuff that different. Let's get rid of these guys. We were talking about food that different people eat in different countries. Some people eat, Japan eat dogs and whatever.
Yeah.
And then we're just talking about different foods. So that's how we got on that
I
subject.
like bourbon fries by themselves with extra cake.
I just can't picture somebody eating a dog.
I can't what they do.
And maybe if it's like a pug, I can picture that. Like a
Well,
pug.
pug specifically.
Because they kind of look like pigs. But like a golden. Could you picture a golden retriever being eaten? No. Something's wrong with that. Even if you don't like dogs, like a golden retriever with a tennis ball in his mouth, you're like, yeah, that's gonna be good on the grill.
I see a steak.
Yeah. Like, and then you gotta shave that bad boy down.
Better. Well, you would.
You asked
You
ask
don't eat the
Brittany.
cow. So
I bet you
skin
anything. I
it,
mean, she's
skin
so,
it.
yeah.
Oh,
She grew up out there.
The problem is,
Ask her.
you grow up looking at cows as food. A lot of us.
Yeah.
So, but you don't have that relationship with dogs. So, like, you know,
Well, I mean, in other
Out.
countries they revere.
in anime, I see Japanese people walking around with dogs, but I haven't seen videos of people in Japan. Now, I don't know if it's in Japan that they eat the dogs. I thought that was like parts of China, Korea that they do it. And forgive us if we're ignorant and y'all don't do that in your country, but
Like, comment, subscribe.
yeah, we're aware that somebody somewhere eats dogs.
I really like her. He can't. She's amazing, and he cannot get her. He, honest to God, like, he doesn't.
Is he still on the phone?
No.
We're still recording. Don't make sure he doesn't watch this episode.
Oh, yeah. I've told him this before,
Okay.
because she's just the sweetest, and my brother loved him to death.
Great.
Oh shoot, it's Crank.
Have you annoying reptile just where I want you.
Sometimes.
That's a good voiceover right there.
And he just landed on the ground and I died.
Man, it'll be stomping.
He is, you gotta like time your jumps.
Alright, time for turtle power. Yeah, I stomped too.
We're gonna fuck you up, fat boy.
And he took me out.
It's a walk. Which is so weird. He chose to build a suit, and he made the suit fat. He didn't make it like Arnold
He
Schwarzenegger.
wanted to make sure he had plenty of space.
Okay, and he could have made plenty of space and made like muscles and everything.
Yeah, but
He chose a bald fat guy instead of like, you know,
No, I mean that's it's
I need that
practical. The more curves, the higher the cost. So if you just make it egg shaped.
I feel like they were making fun of one of their coworkers or something when they made that design.
It looks like what's his name?
Like I thought like he would make like a He-Man type of suit. He chose a balding fat dude. Dilbert?
King Kong Bundy.
Oh yeah, it kind of does look like him.
What a way.
My brain kept trying to think Bam Bam Bigelow, but I was like, no, not him.
Holy crap. No sir. No sir, not today. Oh, it doesn't hurt that eye? I was hoping that eye would get hurt. That's lame. That eye is just gonna sit here and mess with us?
Ah!
I'm gonna give you cataracts, motherfucker. I guess I'm wasting my time trying to hit it. You're supposed to get around it.
Oh, I touched it at the very end. Wow. You're killing us. Bring more of these guys again. Oh, I got the way. And the,
I keep falling in that hole. What the hell?
Okay, let's get rid of these guys. On the screen.
never get too much pizza.
It is the turtles known as turtles. Very known as turtles.
What the hell is that noise?
A boomerang, it sounds
You would have thought Krang was at the very end of the stage. He's not. That was like the middle of it.
Yeah, that's kind of weird. What about are we gonna fight Shredder early?
I thought Shredder had his own stage.
Yeah, I don't think he should be the last one.
I thought there was one with a lock on it that said Shredder.
Yeah, that's right. It does say just Shredder. Krang Subprime? Really?
Crane droids.
We beat the real Krang and we gotta fight a fake Krang?
Or did you fight the fake Krang? This is the real Krang. Okay.
Why does he sound like Gilbert Gottfried?
He really does.
Like maybe they had the license for his voice before he died? 'Cause how old is this game?
Probably close to 10 years old.
So he was still alive
Still
then.
alive back then.
R.I.P. Gilbert Gottfried.
That was a big loss.
Unless he was in the Epstein files and fuck him.
Yeah, I don't think they would. They would have said something.
I don't know. I guess when people are dead, it's not really a case, is it?
What?
Speaking of dead, those terrorists are now dead on arrival. I was surprised that like they came out and was like, yeah, all of them. But it shouldn't be a surprise because it's like, hey, the people, the powers that be, if they're losing money, they don't care what side of the fence you're on. They're like, nah. Oh, did we beat it? What is this?
Yeah, you got the hot score.
I don't care about that. Is the game over?
Eric Dane back? Eric Dane. Yeah. I never watched Grey's Anatomy.
He's on Euphoria as well.
I never watched Euphoria.
Oh, you're missing out. Evidently, he filmed all of his scenes for season 3 of Euphoria before he died.
Oh, wow.
I think that's coming out next month too.
That's crazy because, like, I feel like he just came out and said that he has ALS. He was young too. He was like, what, 53? Something. Young or something.
Use power-up items to enhance your combat strategies.
Yeah, so they only got those 2 letterheads and metalheads.
That's lame. All the Ninja Turtle roster, and you can only get those 2.
Bring me some action. Now stay down.
You saw a cat?
I heard a cat.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Right there?
Yeah. I said that like 30 minutes ago.
Oh. Guess my gummy again.
You need a timeout.
Bananas. They're making a new Bananas in Pajamas series. Everybody's like, what are you talking about, Bananas in Pajamas? I'm like, they don't know what that is, but they know what bananas and mayonnaise sandwiches are.
I know what bananas and pajamas are. I remember the,
I'm gonna take it this time. Yeah, but this has me feeling claustrophobic. Now that they opened up the room, I'm feeling better.
My mom makes fun of me. I say pajamas.
Say what?
I said my mom makes fun of me because I said pajamas.
Instead of pajamas?
She's like, it's pajamas.
No, the song says bananas and pajamas. But you know, it's an Australian cartoon or Australian stuff. Shut up, cat. They were like, we can't use Leatherface, but we can use Leatherhead. As opposed to Letterhead.
Oh, my bad. I thought he was going to hit that note.
Nope. All of y'all and your mama.
Really?
You
Karai.
know how to make a girl feel welcome.
Who said you're welcome?
Sayonara. Nice try. This is fun.
We will fuck you up. You were just standing there taking a beating.
This should be entertaining. Nice try. This is fun. Not bad. This is fun.
Getting beat up is fun.
Nice try. Easy as 1, 2, 3. Not bad. So struck a nerve.
It's like, is she flirting with you or actually trying to...
Jamie or
No.
Game?
Ninjas get it done. Too cool.
Oh, he said ninjas get it done. My brain auto-corrected that. No, she's like, this will be fun.
Surrender.
That's the best you can do. Give it to me, Daddy. Okay, maybe she didn't say that, but I thought I heard it.
She's not fully trained.
If you were fully trained, like, comment, subscribe, share. Hold on, come back. Damn!
Come on, let us go back over there.
Surrender.
Looks like I can call in some help. Now stay there.
Shredder.
It's looking like Shao Kahn.
I was about to say,
Go ahead and get the pizza.
I can never get too much pizza. No, Shredder!
Dang, he said attack, and I just stood there and got hit. So lame. We didn't see Splinter at all in this game. I don't even know the story of this one. Is he captured? Like, why are we just attacking Shredder? We're just like, yeah, we're just gonna beat you up because we know you're up to something.
You interfere in my business for the last time. Today you meet your end.
Like, how are we supposed to fight him with these huge ass things on his arms? He's definitely cutting them up. Like, the turtles have to have like a lifetime supply of bandages. And those things look like they cut off limbs.
now he got some new save out powers.
Do you remember the Shredder in the other game? He had that gun that turns you back into turtles.
Yeah.
Like a small turtle. That was crazy.
Shrink ray or whatever.
Yeah. That was a quarter absorber right there. I'm gonna take this one.
Yeah, go ahead. We both got pizza.
You gonna eat your pizza? That's my pizza. Don't let me get another turtle power because you're finished. Okay, I'm far from the turtle power. I thought I was a lot closer. He's like, you're only going to get 3 hits on me at a time, and then I'm going to hit you back. Woo!
Should be the game.
No, he's going to turn to Super Shredder.
Shredder.
He turned to Kevin Nash. Big sexy, big Diesel. I'm like, when did we even see him take mutagen or anything? He just
disappeared and came back.
Yeah.
Oh, we got Leo's turtle power.
Oh, he has one as well.
Yeah, looks like that.
Back at you. Oh no, he's doing it again.
Did he just gain some of his life back?
He did.
Wow. You know what? Turtle power.
Is it gonna like? Oh, it still hurts him. Good.
He just got all that life back that I took from him.
How is Harvey Weinstein not in the Epstein files?
He was doing his own toxic thing.
Hey!
He didn't need to go there yet.
I just keep walking into that.
Thinking it was going to end. There he goes again.
Oh, I died. Knockout. I can't come back.
Oh, shit, for real?
It's you by yourself, bro.
Oh!
Oh! Aw, diddums.
Whoever just sent me this. Name this band.
Well, we learned what that means. That means hour and 12 minutes we were supposed to be done, and instead we're doing this crap over again.
And that one?
Build a button by
Yeah, we don't care about this.
use turtle power.
Yeah, bro, it's a knockout.
What do you want, Instagram? Yeah.
And we got to do the whole damn level.
This place is probably
Men lap for cutie.
So we still got to be
Depeche no.
Karai.
crying before getting to heaven.
Meth leopard. Coke back out. Death crabs for booty. Metallica.
I like that one.
Boys to meth. Meth shop boys. Booty in the blow from a toilet.
Wow. Oh, my bad.
Oh my god.
I thought I was you. Then I was picturing Darius Rucker smoking crack with RFK Jr.
I still think flock of measles is something. See,
Seaman and Garfunkel.
Oh my god. Now that's what the mayonnaise and banana sandwich is.
No!
We're calling it that from now on. Seaman and Garfunkel. On white bread.
Never get too much pizza.
It's just interesting that like they were like, hey, right here you used enough to continue.
Yeah, wait the whole game.
So we gotta be extra good on Shredder.
She like watches videos and then reads the comments. It's hysterical sometimes.
Wanted destruction. I love it.
Stop trying to take all of our continue, douchebags. Just get off the screen. We need to save our energy for Karai. There she is.
You really know how to make a girl feel welcome.
Who said you're welcome?
Guess I struck a nerve.
Hey, it still says to continue.
Freaking Costco.
Should be entertaining. Not bad.
They're the reason, or they're who sued the government to get their tariff money back. Because I was like, I wonder what case that was.
Yeah.
This is fun. Not bad.
She's like, this is fun.
Easy as 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, that's what we say.
Like they're doing a little dance here.
Piece of cake.
Alright, now we gotta take on Shredder. I need a, well, we both need a pizza. Right. Go ahead and take that one.
Money, kept throwing dollar bills at my phone.
I got my little travel power thing to hold me for a little bit. There we go.
And a kitty.
Is there another one here? There we go. That'll hit. You're going down. Oh, and then they hit me right after that.
We hate all of you. Y'all are wasting our energy. We know what we gotta do. Go away. Bring us to your leader.
There we go. Oh boy.
What makes you
Go
think
ahead,
it
get
falls into
that
my domain?
Pizza. Well, pizza. Okay. But still.
Oh, jump. What the hell?
You need a timeout.
Alright, get up off that chair, son.
You interfere in my business for the last time. Today you meet your end. Dodge this. Splinter should be ashamed to be your teacher. You're good for now.
Dang. Huh. Jinx. I'm jumping!
them both down.
One continue left. How did that hit me? I was out of the way. Okay, there's a pizza there. I jumped! Just hurry up and turn into Super Shredder, douchebag. Oh, we don't have any? How have we not beat him yet? Fucking douchebag, lay down. Alright. Can't die here. Just stick and move. Just hit him a couple times and move out the way.
The problem is that he keeps absorbing our life.
Oh my god.
I can't move out of the way.
It's too big.
Okay.
Gosh darn it.
He's like drawing us in, kind of.
I'll stay away from that.
Wait.
Stupid foot soldiers.
Oh, here he goes.
He's regenerating his health.
My dad. No, halfway.
Oh, I'm alive still.
Oh. No. Okay, thank you, Dad.
Oh, I've seen that. Yeah.
Okay, you got your power thing, dude.
Alright, we just gotta keep this system
Everybody else
going.
was
You got
literally
yours
telling
now.
Chicken Playmaker. And he loved, on, I think it was on TBS.
Alright, go for the kill! Go for the kill! No, he's... Ah!
Commercial for Family Guy.
No, I'm out.
Stewie.
I'm out.
Like in all little bits.
No! What the fuck?
Now you see why we're on this side of the room.
It was one hit! It was one hit away! Alright. If you're gonna beat this thing, you're gonna have to be some kind of nerd to beat it. So, let's run it then.
Everybody that's beating it, like, comment, subscribe.
Like, oh, it's subscribe.
Yo, that was the best we could have done. One hit away. And it was an instant game over. And it was like, nah, y'all are good.
You got to throw objects at your opponent.
Woo! It'd be sad if we lose it this 6 times and that's like the same as like replaying all the levels.
What if he has another form after that?
If he has another format, I'm just turning it off. I'm gonna look at you and be like, we should have played easy mode.
True form.
I'm gonna look at you and be like, it should have been easy mode.
I was like, how hard could a turtle beat 'em up game be?
Or actually, y'all could join in now.
You know what? Chad, why don't you come in and help us with this?
No, I'm good.
Third person, you get that's another power up, turn power up that'll put Shredder away.
It was literally two. They got two controllers right there.
I feel like if I play, I will just make you lose more.
I don't understand it. I can't tell if I'm just high or.
I couldn't figure out what it says. Brow something?
Yeah, it says read it from the middle, and I'm just like without.
Go take a
This is read it from the middle. What does that mean? Brain is broken.
You're definitely high.
No, I don't think so, because I don't get it either. And I haven't had no gummies.
I can give you some. Brought plenty.
We had two continues when he appeared and lost all of our lives that quickly.
Look who posted the comment.
I threw it. I didn't think it was going to hurt you. It also hit the other guy.
Mariah Rose trying to tell David to fold in the cheese all over again.
Gonna look back at this video and be like, what the hell is she laughing at? It's like we suck that bad she's laughing at.
Comedy. Comic relief.
Who said you're welcome? Your master is talking.
Me trying to read this.
Yeah. This needs to be upside down.
Throw it at you.
This is fun. Yes, I struck a nerve. Not bad. This is fun.
Oh, no.
Get up.
Not bad.
That's what these ninja stars. Alright, I'm gonna use this get rid of her.
Oh my god.
Piece of cake.
Stop those nomads.
Yeah.
Turtles are nomads.
Never get too much pizza.
Get that turtle power too.
I'm all the way over there. I can't get back.
Like,
No,
what?
no, 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 my fault.
Alright, I'll just say, yep, you're on air. That's all there is to it.
I'm just like.
We need those for Shredder.
Yeah, we need those. Can I attack this machine?
Yeah.
Can we do it?
I hate when I do that.
What
Oh, go ahead and get that.
Waltz into my domain.
Or when I like do it and I wind up swiping it off completely, I'm like
In the middle of reading it.
How did I get hit that quickly?
Awesome. We belong to the foot.
Alright, Alright, get off that throne.
myself.
Okay.
Yeah, we rather would have.
Concluded my business for the last time. Today you meet your end.
Yeah. Freaking Groundhog Day.
I will be rid of you freaks. Feel my wrath.
Aw, Diddums.
Dang, for real?
I still don't get it.
It's alright. Turtle power. Right up on you. Hopefully it does more damage. It seems like it's harder this time. More pizza.
I'm gonna try to save it as long as I can.
I don't know how long you can stay there.
Oh, from the middle of the list. I'm like, I'm looking at the middle of the word.
You got your special. Finish them off.
Sounds to me like yes.
Dang it, how did he get me there? Shut the hell up.
Walk. On his ass.
I said we make that one, and it did not actually make sense.
This is Nookie.
Just to see if somebody can figure it out.
One continue left. That's better than last time, right?
Oh, now 0.
I stand corrected.
Come on. There we go. Oh.
Son of McCrighton. Oh my gosh, I'm getting wasted hits there. That movie has this.
No, not yet. Almost. Now I got it. Bring him down to like halfway.
Oh my gosh, man!
No! Oh! He did the Hulk clap.
Freaking douchebag! Can you get up?
Let's see. Ah, thunderclap. No.
Get out of the way, get out of the way, get out of the way! Dang, I'm knocked out. It's all you.
No! Get out the way, no! Oh!
You almost have another turtle power, too.
Oh! Oh!
No!
Oh!
You almost had another turtle power. That would have finished him. Alright, y'all gotta get in there.
He's like, put me in, coach.
Y'all gotta get in. Y'all got 2 controllers right there in front of you. Grab that one.
And Chad was our opportunity. So I'm gonna go to the bathroom for a second.
Oh wait, good. Let me do my turn.
Oh my gosh!
Oh, who's he playing as?
I think he was playing as Raph.
Okay.
But, I mean, I'm sure he doesn't mind playing as any of the other ones. Oh, the frustration!
That's what she said. Oh, you gotta hit either the plus button or the minus button.
Just wait
for
Alpha
Now you can do left or right. Yeah.
Well, he's already Raph, I am, right?
No, that's.
Wait, who's who? What?
Hey, baby, who you playing as?
Which turtle are you?
I'll be Raph.
Okay.
Okay, so then I can click on one.
Yeah. I'm Leonardo.
In the arcade, all you have to do is just put in a few more quarters and you beat them.
Yeah.
Join in now.
Oh, yeah.
Power up items to enhance your combat strategy.
I'm just hoping they won't remove our continues because we have 4 turtles now. But starting now.
Alright, what do we do?
This guy should have hired an
Which
interior
button does
designer.
what?
Okay, so there's only 2 buttons. It's Y and B. B is jump, Y is attack. And then you get the third button will be X whenever you get your special move.
Cool.
That's it.
I don't know any of that. I'm just gonna hit buttons.
Just keep hitting the Y button.
Yeah, so pretty much keep hitting the Y button. And if that turtle power meter fills up, then you press X.
Alright, so we got reinforcements.
Mandatory recruits.
Yeah, we were told, not asked.
Why do I look like I'm wearing Ugg boots?
Those Nickelodeon model Ninja Turtles.
Man, that salsa's really good.
I cannot do this.
Seems like we're getting through this level a little faster though.
Yeah.
So I was thinking they were just gonna increase the amount of enemies they put on the screen, but no, it's the same amount.
These guys out.
It's over my dead body.
Aw, get him. We're already at her.
You know how to make a girl feel welcome.
Did I miss something, guys?
Not bad. I struck a nerve.
Thanks, you got me.
Not that easy as 1, 2, 3. Your master has taught you well.
Oh, you good?
This is fun.
See you next Tuesday. Lay down.
It's taking longer to beat her this time.
Yes, I struck a nerve.
Pull. Pow.
Game over, boy.
Donatello.
My bad.
Hey,
Oh, I need that. Thank you.
It is the one called turtle.
Uh-oh.
Alright, whoever's Michelangelo, please hit the, or Leonardo, hit the X button. Never mind.
it's go time.
Take y'all out. Out of y'all.
Who needs that most? I think Leonardo needs it. I know. Donatello needs it.
World's
Again,
right.
no, Raphael get it. He was like, I'm getting it anyway. I don't care who you say it is.
I'm hoping they give us 4 pieces after Super Shredder or whatever.
I will deal with you myself.
It's already down one.
Shit.
You interfere in my business for the last time. Today you
Continues, so
meet
we
your
have-
end.
One.
We're down to 1 already?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
We all are.
And I'm knocked out. Good.
No, fuck you! Oh, there's a pizza. Somebody get?
Yeah, somebody get that.
I'm gonna get that one if I can make it. Oh, did you not get one?
No.
How many pizzas did they give?
2.
That's it?
4 people, they give you 2 pieces.
Mm-hmm.
Well, 3 technically, but
Go time.
Damn it! Where is he at? I'm tired of this little bastard. Knocked out. It's the girls now.
Mark Princess. Leo. Oh, yeah, knocked out.
I'm still alive.
You got it. You got it.
Oh!
I'm still alive.
Leo, if Leo would have pushed X, because when you, so I don't think we explained it to you. That green bar, turtle power, that does like the special move.
Oh.
You got to be pushing that. You would have beat him there.
What's
But
what's the button you gotta hit?
X. But I don't think I've seen it on your screen. But you had it like a couple
Oh.
times. You probably just didn't know.
No.
But now you know, maybe we can try it again, but
Most sure it was like Shredder's Revenge. You have 6 people playing. We just draft chat in here too.
oh, other people.
I'm getting a wrap.
Build a button by fighting bad guys. You can unleash turtle.
See, that's what he's saying right there. It'll have the little finger pointing and it'll have the flame around it. It's trying to tell you to use it. But you don't have to use it until you want to use it. Usually when there's like a big group of enemies is when you should use it, or obviously at the end of the game. And we got nothing else to lose.
I think we must have used all our lives fighting Karat. So by the time we got the Shredder, we didn't have that left.
I wonder if we could make it if everybody had their like turtle power for Shredder. Like 4 turtle powers for him. That looks like a Leonardo pizza. Leonardo, go get that pizza. There we go. Booyakasha! Dang. Thing with the gat needs to go away.
You really know how to make a girl feel welcome.
Hey there, princess. Miss me?
Ah!
Nice try. This is fun. This should be entertaining. It's 1, 2, 3. This is Yes, I struck a nerve.
It's good.
Gosh, she's getting on my nerves. Why is she still alive now? Nobody's even gotten a turtle power yet?
That sounds very.
Hey!
Okay. Let's not use any more until we get to Shredder. That should just about knock her out. Dang, she had her legs wide open.
Ninjas get it done.
Ninjas get it done.
Who needs that? Leonardo again? Oh, Raphael. Raphael. Okay.
Stop blasting me.
I am going to save my turtle power for Shredder. I'm sorry. I know we probably should use it like here. But if we use this right, there should be only one more group of enemies after that.
Never get too much foot attack.
Okay, I'm going to use it here. Yeah, so that was a pitiful distraction. Oh, that still wasn't all of them. Michelangelo almost has another one.
You interfere in my business for the last time. Today you meet your end. Dodge this.
Finished. Every single time. Hey, I wasn't even nowhere near you, dude.
We're already at one continue. We were doing so well.
No more.
Okay, we need to like split up into like quadrants or something so that we can see each other. 'Cause I'm gonna stay up here, top left. And make him come to me if I can.
He's coming after me. What the heck? I'm trying to run away from you.
Okay, there's a pizza. Michelangelo, get that.
Damn knockout.
Feel my wrath.
Oh no! I couldn't get up to get it! Okay, Michelangelo, get that other pizza, I guess. Douchebag, man. I swear I jumped. It's like he's targeting me. Still not enough. We gotta go get him. We gotta beat the shit out of him. Oh, he jumped out of the way. Get up, get up, get up, get up! Somehow.
You got a chance.
Oh, I thought that was gonna happen.
Shredder. This is the end, Turtles.
Oh.
Warriors.
Be quick, quick, X, X! Hey, hit the A button, and then, yep, there you go.
Yes, perfect.
Okay, stay away from that. Move away from that.
I'm trying, I'm trying.
He's cheating and revives himself. I'm out. It's just you.
Oh my god.
You can do it, Vicky.
You got this, Vicky.
Yeah, just run away from him when he does that tornado thing.
Damn, she got killed by one of the stray enemy. One of the guys hit her in the back. Aw, Diddums.
Talk about that. titties first, huh?
Oh, titties. The stress. Isn't that salsa good?
I haven't tried it yet.
Where's it from? Is it
That's
from-
Chili's.
I love chili salsa.
I thought they were still boycotting.
Who was boycotting them?
Shoot, I need to call them.
I thought we were still
Oh.
boycotting.
Well, I was getting my free birthday dessert. That's why. And they gave me those.
You know what's really good is Chili's salsa, and if you mix their ranch into it.
I haven't tried that yet.
But actually, you need to put the salsa into the ranch, not the other way around.
Ready when y'all are. 1 hour game, they said. Hour 56 minutes into it. Still freaking struggling. Put it on normal, he said.
Well, we can change that difficulty.
We have to do all the other levels over again to change the difficulty.
Think so?
Yeah.
We couldn't just go back to the
This guy should have hired
save file and change that to like.
I don't know. And it's like now I'm so annoyed that I'm like, why haven't we beaten it on the normal? We came close.
Imagine
Like,
if you did it hard.
You think you're gonna beat it by yourself?
well, you have to beat it on normal to do it hard.
You see baby from over there?
Is there not like a cheat code on here or something? That's what I need to Google. Like, what is the cheat code? I need.
Donnie needs it.
I will take it.
It's go time.
Alright.
You really know how to make a girl feel welcome.
Who said you're welcome?
Catch me if you can. This is fun. Hey, I Not bad. Nice try.
She gets on my nerves.
Guess I struck a nerve.
Yes, you did. Should be dead already. Like, I really didn't want to use that there, but I felt like it was best for the team to not see people get down to one continue right there. I needed 2 continues here, even though we're about to die. Well, we're already at 1 continue again. Leo. We need you, yeah.
It is the one called
Raph, get the pizza.
I can never get too much pizza.
Raph, also get the turtle power. Did Raph get it?
Yeah.
Okay. You're almost there. You probably need to save yours for Shredder. And Michelangelo saved theirs for Shredder. Turtle power, save it. Woo! Alright, who needs the pizza the most here? Raphael, get the pizza.
Foot attack.
So y'all should maybe stay away and let me and Jamie handle these guys. To build up our turtle power.
I will deal with you myself.
Oh, well, never mind. We got through them that quickly.
You interfere in my business for the last time. Today,
Turtle
you
power
reach
time.
your end.
Let a cute few this.
Try to stop me.
I'm not messing
You'll
with
pay
it.
for that.
That's all it took off?
Probably because you did it early. Now, Vicky, use yours. Oh, I'm knocked out already? I didn't even use that many lives. Didn't even make it to the pizza. Somebody get those pizzas. Can't believe I'm knocked out already. Yeah. But yet, Michelangelo got back in, but I couldn't get back in. Leonardo's almost out of turtle power. Damn! Can you get back in? Oh, Leonardo got back in. They almost got him. Okay, you have a turtle power now. You can save for Super Shredder.
Call me Shredder. This is the end, Peppers.
Damn.
Damn, killed Michelangelo in front of you.
The last one.
Michelangelo keeps coming back. Wow. Why can't we come back?
It's that X in front of your neck, the X under your icon. It's like there was like one. It's like when they hit 0, then there's nothing else left. So they're on their last one.
Mine got 0 multiple times now.
Oh, turtle power, turtle power.
That's how we do it.
Yep.
Oh, what the freak?
Michelangelo's building up turtle power fast. You see that? How come we're not building it up that fast?
Maybe that's his gift in the game? I don't know.
Are you ringing, baby?
Yeah, it's Jose. I'm not answering that.
Okay, hold up. Where are the options, yeah? That's the audio. Where did you go? Oh, hold on. There was more stuff there in the settings, wasn't there? No, not here. There was like controls. There was more stuff down here. No. I can't believe we can't beat it at freaking normal. I thought there would be a... Hold on. This is sad. Wrath of the Mutant cheat codes.
Wow, so both Phil Spencer and Sarah Bonner are officially resigning from Xbox.
Yeah, I put that in the MGT. I was like, she couldn't wait till the end of Black History Month to resign. And they made her the scapegoat. Understand that. They were like, yeah, we're going to go multi-platform and let the black woman lead. And she was like, well, Xbox is more than just the system. Xbox is wherever you can play games. And that was a bad idea, but they had already moved it in that direction before they made her the face of the company.
And now they got the AI person as the Indian person over Xbox now.
Yeah, so she's going to have to be the one to be like, yeah, Xbox, you know, it's just here. We don't care. It's there. We're going to keep putting games out and publish them on other consoles, but we're going to keep our console there and maybe put our titles day one and then slowly put the other titles. But, you know, you bought out Activision, so what they really saying is, look, we concede on the consoles. We just want to own Call of Duty because we know y'all want Call of Duty.
Yeah.
We can't make games, so we want Activision and Bethesda to make games for us and call it Xbox.
Well, if Phil Spencer had just like done his earlier, then when Doug Bowser had quit, he could have filled in for Doug Bowser at Nintendo, and then he could have been the link to have Game Pass on the Switch, which is what people wanted to see, but it didn't happen that way. So what now?
You can't change it to... You can't change the difficulty, bro. When you pick normal. See? It's not...
Dolly deleted. Wow. Yeah.
Alright.
That was so hard.
I don't know how... She was getting the freaking turtle power very quickly. Like, she was hammering away at Shredder. And
you know what? I think when it was just us two, we were getting the turtle power faster. But when it comes down to one person, they're the only ones doing all the attacks, so of course it's going to build faster. So, I don't know. Guess we're giving it a shot. I just don't see no.
We're doing it one more time. But you don't have to if you don't want to. I don't know.
Use power-up items to enhance your combat strategy.
Like, we were getting the Super Shredder, and we saw him gain health 3 times. Now we can barely even get to him. It's like they're cheating us.
This guy should have hired an interior designer. This place stinks.
So I see the 2 beside my character now.
Yeah, so we all start off with 2.
But Vicky had like 3 continues after that. And online it says there are no cheat codes.
Just what I needed.
Yeah, I think theirs was a slight delay as well.
This way, guys. We'll use this shortcut.
That means it's just a game.
Looks like I can call in some help.
Now for Karai.
You really know how to make a girl feel welcome.
Who said you're welcome?
Catch me if you can. Nice try. This is not bad. Not bad. This is nice try. Easy as 1, 2, 3.
How did I get hit?
Struck a nerve.
Bitch, if you don't get the fuck out of my face.
This should be entertaining.
Use what? Did you just A? Oh, she's talking about she got the star, yeah. You just press the B button.
Again already. I'm at X0 now.
1, 2, 3.
Almost that turtle power.
Ninjas get it done.
Barely. I have hardly any health. I need a pizza.
get there because last night. Well, we got 2.
Mike. We're all pissed off enough that we all have the turtle power now. Who needs the pizza here?
What makes you think you could waltz into my domain?
Jamie.
Got some pizza here.
Attack!
Bring it on, Shredder.
Is this the best property Yoshi can come up with? I will deal with you myself.
Alright, I'm gonna use mine.
You interfere in my business for the last time. Today you meet your end.
Yeah, come on.
Oh, wait, excuse yours since we got
I lost my turtle power. I literally died.
Somebody use theirs.
Yeah, it's me.
That's getting
This
it
is not
done.
I had mine, I had to start it.
Okay, that took a little.
Okay, so I got 2 more. So that continue gave me 2 lives.
I got 2 also.
I have 0. So I need to stay out of the way on my shell. Do y'all's thing.
Damn, Shredder.
See, that's what I'm saying. How is Jamie knocked out already? She. Get away from me, man! They've got more health than I do. Fucking bully. He's targeting me, y'all. Which I can't blame him. That's what I would do too. I'm knocked out. I barely could have got the pizza. Michelangelo, get in. We could have been alive at the pizzas. Might have to wear him down and leave the pizzas there. Might have to be the strategy. Don't touch the pizzas until you get low. Like Raphael probably needs to right now.
Ah, I couldn't get to it.
It's alright, you're good.
Dealt with you long ago. Not this.
Damn it. Stop being around the pizza.
Okay, Vicky, you need to get it now.
Almost at turtle power, y'all. Alright.
Okay, he's dead there now. Alpha still has his turtle power, but we'll see what happens there.
Let's go, baby.
This is wild.
Why they call me Shredder. This is the end.
Shredder in the sheets. Super Shredder.
I'll introduce you to a new form of pain.
Damn it.
Only a fool would fall.
Go, Vicky. Come on, move.
Oh, shit.
Infinite power. I expected to find warriors here, not school children.
Still got it.
Building up a lot of turtle power at the end.
That's my patience. Only a fool would fall that itch. Now what is the end? I'll introduce you to a new form of pain.
You almost got another turtle power. Hang in there. X.
There you go. Go, Vicky.
Go, Vicky.
Man, if she had one more life, she might be able to do it.
I justify warriors here, not small children. I'll die on purpose.
Damn.
Yeah, he had to end you with that line. Tonight, on turtle soup. Oh, that hurts.
That really hurts. Cause I feel like that was the best we did coordinated wise.
Are you playing again?
I'm a sucker for punishment. Yeah. I don't know how we can win. This is one of those Doctor Strange, like, I saw 1,000 possibilities and we lost in all of them but
No
one.
one. Yeah.
And that's where it's just Alpha by himself playing. Oh, hold on.
Oh.
Like, how do we even, can we even earn more continues? Like,
That's my knowledge. I didn't see any way to earn that.
Vicky's ready to play again.
No. A. Press the button, and then press A.
I'm player 4 now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
I think it goes in by who presses the button.
Yeah, gotcha.
Because you're still player
Feel the button
3
by
on the
fighting back.
controller.
You can unleash turtle power.
I just hate that even when you're not dying as much, they like knockout. I'm like, what is going on
They
here?
should have hired an interior designer. This place stinks.
It's almost like they punish you for having more players. Meanwhile, there's some 12-year-old that's beating this in like an hour.
This way, guys. We'll use this shortcut.
Pizza power!
Oh! I mean for you to walk in the way of that.
Let's take these guys out.
Okay, there's hardly anybody there. I'll take it. So here's the difficult part. We make it to her with 2, and then we all get fucked up here.
Welcome. Oh, come on! This is fun.
No. See, my health is already low.
1,
2, 3. Your master
And then she came right at me and hit me.
So I struck a nerve. This is fun. This should be entertaining. So I struck a nerve. This is fun.
Oh, I cannot stand this.
1, 2, 3. That's good. Your master has shot you well. This should be entertaining.
How are we losing this many lives against her? We did so much better against her the first time.
I lost both my lives, or 2 lives. One at the very beginning and one towards the end.
Well, you have your, what do you call it, so save that.
I'm saving it.
Surrender this power. Pizza time!
Wrath, get the turtle power. Wrath, get the turtle power back there.
Ralph or
Raphael's the only one that doesn't have it.
Nice!
What makes you think you could waltz into my domain?
Leonardo, there you go.
Got some pizza here.
Attack!
Shredder
It's the best coffee you can I will deal with you myself. You interfere in my business for the last time.
Jump when he
Today you
first
meet
comes
your
out.
end.
It'll also tell you when to jump.
Mm-hmm.
Turtle power! Slice and dice!
Man, he killed me right after that. Oh, and there was a pizza right there if you would have just lasted. Okay, Mikey, get a pizza. Raphael. Okay, so we need to avoid him. Let him come to us and hit him and move out the way. That's the only way we can win. If we try to just beat down on him, we're gonna lose.
So why they call me Shredder? This is the end, Turtles. Only a fool would throw away their advantage.
If you can kill the foot soldiers, I'll deal with him. Never mind.
Shell shocked.
And he turns his back to you. When he turns his back, then he does that stupid move there. And these jerks keep trying to hit you in the back so that you get sucked in that. And how do you stop him from... He does turn his back to you, though. Yeah, he turns his back, and that's when you can hit him. But you have to be patient and wait for that. Oh! He got me. Fuck, man! At least we learned something there. The look on Jamie's face says it all. She's like, fuck this. And that music at the end is like some kind of like pseudo NBA music, like, yeah, you lost. The John Tesh music. Oh.
What really hurt worse is that when me and Leonard had him down to like one hit, we could have been done with this.
Let's run it back, me and you.
What?
If y'all don't mind. Let's run it back.
I mean, you can do the boyfriend-girlfriend tag.
No, no, me and you. Let's run it back. You just said it. Let's run it back.
Oh, God. I should have shut my mouth.
Jump in. Because they're being stingy. It should be 4 pizzas out there.
Come on, bring me some action. Yeah.
Damn it.
You guys can do better, right? Who's next?
Who's next?
All right. Baby. Yeah. It's a close thing. Yeah.
You go ahead and get
I
that.
hope the engineers were well paid if we want to reach the top of this thing.
feel like saving it for Karai, even though we probably don't need to. I don't know. Just sick of her. Wasn't there like a leatherhead or leather something over here?
Supposed to be. Oh, you killed me.
Catch up. Level time. Yeah. Whoa.
Insanity, just doing the same thing, same results. Oh my gosh. I can just still see her laughing. There she is right here.
You know how to make a girl feel welcome.
Who said you're welcome? Power. Awesome.
This should be entertaining.
It should be. Alright, she's about to kill me.
Yes, 1, 2, 3. Not bad.
She got me one there.
This is fun. Nice try. This is fun. Not bad.
We almost got her.
Nice try.
There, we got her. How many lives did you lose on her? Just that one? Okay. I lost one.
Piece of cake.
There's a pizza up here. Let me get that.
Now, turtles will experience.
Thank you.
Pizza. Piece of cake. But still. Fantastic. You need a timeout. Catch up.
I need this time out here. Man, go away with these lasers.
Damn.
Well, go ahead and
Makes
get
you
it.
think you could waltz into my domain.
Pizza time.
Foot attack!
No, Shredder.
You are nothing to me. Prepare to meet fate. I will deal with you myself.
You're not knocked out though, right?
You interfere in my business for the last time. Today you meet your end.
Today you'll meet your end. Yeah, let me back in.
Oh, John.
Too cool. Level time.
I will crush you. I will be rid of you freaks.
probably need a pizza, bro. Oh, okay. Well, I'll take this one. Dang, he's just beefing up. Makes you wonder if on easy there's no super shredder. That's the hope. How have we not beat him yet? There we go. Alright. We survived this far. How many more continues do we have? Does it say 0? Damn.
They call me Shredder. This is the end.
If we had one left, we might be...
Warriors here, not
Remember, when his back's turned, that's the best time to get him.
You got the pattern down. Get him. Back out. I hate that nonsense.
He only had a corn, but there was no way I was gonna survive it without another pizza or some kind of. Because I felt like the first couple times we did it, you were alive a lot longer than that. I was like, damn, just it sucks when you're like by yourself and you're just like, and that one foot soldier is just watching you as you're like running and he's ready to stick. It's just,
that's what he did to Vicky. You know what I'm saying? Vicky was trying to run in the corner and the foot soldier came and put her out of her misery. A turtle soup.
I don't know, man. John Cena quit. I might have to quit this one. This is just...
You gotta smile.
No smiling. That's bullshit. We're literally wearing him down, and he's regenerating his health. And there's no way to like. You should be able to hit him to stop him from pulling him back up.
I'm just wondering how much easy is the easy difficulty. Like, did they give you 4 continues?
I meant to hit quit, but just to see, like.
So what does it say is the difference?
Join in and see. Man, had his ass. He was right there and he hit me.
Use power-up items to enhance your combat strategies.
Still 2 continues. So you get 3 of those lives.
3 lives.
I don't really know how much that would really help.
Well, it would help a lot if every time you come back you get 3 instead of... Because really when you say 3, that's actually 4.
Yeah, that's right. Because every time you use a continue, you get another batch of 3 lives.
Yep. No, it's actually 4 when you think about it. Because you say 3 and it's 3, 2, 1, 0.
Yeah. You gonna try to go back to this whole entire game?
I mean, what else?
1 hour, I guess.
Alright, y'all, so we're gonna cut it and we'll be back when we get there.
You gonna take an intermission?
No, I'm pausing the recording.
Looks like I can call in some help.
Actually, I should just stop the recording. Other yellow hat guy here, back with another video. And you were watching myself and Alpha, Dog, Wolf be terrible at this Ninja Turtles game.
Terrible Ninja.
Now, if you watched us do this live, you saw we had to resort to even getting the girls to come in to help us, and we still just couldn't get it done at all. That super shredder at the end, spoilers, he had our number. There's no cheats for this game. We thought we could beat it on normal, but because... Say what?
We had to whisk out and put it on easy.
Yeah.
You picked the wrong time to mess with me. Quit dancing.
Nah, get your ass out of the way.
And even now, my mind's like, what are you doing? Why are you using turtle power now? Save it for Shredder. No. Yeah, whatever.
And I'm still not done with the level.
And I got hit by a car. These guys with these plasma guns are killing me, literally. So sick of them.
Just what I needed.
Oh, you should let me get that.
Oh, yeah, you're right. My bad.
You were already full. It's all good. And you know, maybe with one more life we could have beaten Super Shredder. I feel like I could have with one more. But I'm like, what kid is beating that on normal? I was looking at the yarn and fell in the sewer. Damn it!
Oh, my bad.
No, it's okay. You used the other one, so.
You got a time out now. Oh yeah, too cool.
The look on Jamie's face was priceless. She's like, oh, run it back. She's like, Well, what about now that it's on easy?
We'll see what you guys do first.
Translation, no, on a break. You guys get back to Shredder and then we'll decide.
Basically.
That's it.
Who's next?
Gotta fight Krang all over again. Oh my god.
What was the other hand when we had Shredder?
Now stay there.
Let me get that one right there. Oh.
Shit, my bad. It's going to your side and then happening.
Yeah, it is the turtles known as
Turtle power! I like
Wanted destruction. I love it. Who's next?
Donnie, get your bitch ass up. Oh, the stage needs to hurry up and be over. That was a good group of enemies did it.
Oh yeah. Too cool.
It actually was.
Coming. Hey, yeah. Fantastic. Yeah, yeah.
Go ahead and get that pizza.
You can never get too much pizza.
Oh my gosh. How did I die already? You died too. The hell is that? I guess that came out of the cooler.
Very sorry, comrades, but you are no match for the Rocksteady.
Looking good, Rocksteady. Lose some weight.
I like how they're like, oh, you know what? Bebop's first in the same stage and Rocksteady's second. They should be in their own different, separate stages. But we get Fish Face.
Now to make turtles pay. Get low! Get
See how we're just molly-whopping him? How come Shredder wasn't like that? Because he's the last guy?
Super Shredder.
Nice try, Hornet.
But even the original, the regular Shredder.
I love being a turtle.
What's up?
I'll get a snack.
Okay. Alright, New York City is done. Where was that fish dude? Let's just get that one out of the way. That one annoys me the most. So what?
This we're doing it all on easy.
It's still like PTSD to see it all over again.
Yeah, I guess you're right. We should have did that's it. But this thing right here.
So we're gonna need lots of quarters.
What is that?
Pull apart bread.
Wow.
So, you can buy like frozen biscuits and then just roll them out like that. And I did that one year for her.
All right, now you ready?
Yeah. I'm as ready as Xbox is to give up.
And the Is It Cakes thing always gets
Fill the
me.
Yeah.
I'm like, is it?
Did you ever watch the show?
Turtle power.
Yeah, the show.
Oh.
Time for me to bring the pain.
Surrender will be disintegrated.
These guys, I hate these guys.
Who's next?
I don't like them because they look like these guys that like deny you for bank loans.
Denied.
Sorry, sir, your credit score needed to be 720. You're at 719.
Denied.
Yeah.
Oh, it was 719 until we looked at your credit. Now it's 658. Just for looking at it, yeah, we had to look at it several times to be sure. Get him, Leatherhead.
See, at least in Shredder's Revenge, you could do like a taunt, then you can get your little special moves. But here,
It's all good. We're gonna get the Shredder again, and we're gonna beat the fuck out of him. Oh, you used your. I was about to say, fuck it and use mine.
oh, stupid lasers.
Just what I need. Fantastic.
All right, fish face, hurry up.
You have not seen the last of me,
can handle the toy.
So you've got kids? No reptiles.
He sounds ridiculous there.
Annoying reptiles. So you've got kids? Here they come.
Get your bitch ass off the floor. Or on the floor. Next! Oh, it's not over. Damn.
It is the turtle.
Damn, the Krang thing. Ah. Don't even care. Just die, all of y'all. I'll throw lunch boxes at you. I will do whatever. There's a rise of these kids that are killing people, killing their parents, because the parents won't let them play video games. Have y'all been seeing this? In my mom's neighborhood, a kid, evidently 17 years old, his mom wouldn't let him play Xbox or something like that, Fortnite. He stabbed her several times and dumped her in a trash can. Yeah, not making this up. Like 8 houses down from my mom. Yeah. And then another kid, his dad told him to go to bed. He couldn't play Switch, and he's much younger. He's like 12. He shot his dad in the head and told his mom, said, "Mommy, I killed Daddy." Yeah. That was like today or yesterday. The other one I'm talking about was like last week. The kid who killed his mom, he was a wrestler at school. Go ahead. Damn it, I accidentally used it, sorry.
Alright.
Awesome! I'm a superhero! Now stay there! Whoa! Nice! Don't be slow.
This dude.
You should have minded your own business, you guys. Now, face the consequences.
Who was the
Impressive.
person before him?
Most impressive. Haven't you flown by now? My any sense.
Okay.
You are barely students. I'm sure you can do better than that. You take me for a fool? Starting to annoy me.
Yeah, you're annoying us too, dude. Piss off.
For a fool? Awesome. Starting to annoy me.
Hitting the nuts with a fucking barrel.
Ninjas get it done. Come on. Time is ticking, boy.
Alright, what is that? 4 more?
Yeah, I believe so.
Oh, the amusement park had that guy, the Creep, or whatever his name was. He was literally called the Creep. They just ran out of names. sewer? Or where you want to
Oh, let's do
go? Okay. You like you about to fall asleep. Hey, 18 minutes in on this one. And it's like, where do you start the pants with that? After you make the feet.
I'm starting with this.
I know, I'm asking myself, like, how does one start it? Because he's much fatter than Mario, so he's gonna have a freaking cotton ball, like the size of Boo in the middle. I'm gonna win! You know what those remind me of? Remember those, that episode on Ninja Turtles where they had the little weird creatures that, like, they microwave the meatballs and the pizza?
That's what these are in this.
Oh, that's what they are?
Yeah, the pizza eaters.
Yeah. But the stage in the video game, they did the exact same thing.
Yeah. That's why they reused them. They just have a different character.
Okay. I don't know what the hell they were.
Yeah, they're still pizza eaters.
I'm gonna take that.
Pizza power!
I wasted it. But hey, at least they're gone. Oh, get that.
Just what I needed.
Chrome Dome, that's who was here. Lost the shredder so many times, forgot everybody in the game. But hey, for $7, getting a replay value out of it, I guess. Not that I wanted to. Damn, he just threw me across the screen like I was nothing. Damn, you assholes. I'll say you got your special. There we go. Da, 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 da.
Piece of cake.
Let the boys be boys.
They could have split these up to like 2 levels. And then it could have been like 12 levels or whatever. It's like, oh, you beat Karai, and then you go to Shredder, and then Super Shredder. You get that?
Nice.
And get the other one. I don't even remember us doing this.
I remember it.
Don't take a cat.
I have the power!
Yeah. Too cool.
Yeah, you got this one straight guy. Man.
I wonder if that movie's gonna be any good.
That makes me fun.
Yeah, you got that. You got Supergirl. You got the Spider-Man movie supposed to come out this year in the summer. Supergirl and Spider-Man in the summer, and then you got Dune at the end of the year, and Avengers, and Mortal Kombat in April or in May, I think, and then Mario in April.
I love it. Fantastic. Double time. Heads up, bro. Yeah, baby.
See, we would use the continue there if we were on normal.
Too cool. Catch up.
Get in there, Metalhead.
All of them down.
The heck? Go ahead and get the pizza.
I can never get too much pizza. Fantastic. You need a timeout. You guys can do better than that.
Okay, Baxter. Okay.
You are no match for the genius of Baxter Stockman.
Mm-hmm.
Hey,
You and your
you need
tight
a
pants.
timeout. Hey, you're finished. You hear me?
You got your power, bro. I was gonna say, you're saving it.
Wanted destruction. I love it.
That's it.
That the best you can do, Baxter? Time to go, boys.
Cowabunga! Oh yeah, combo bonus. I didn't get a combo bonus. Sad. Okay, so we are going against Krang, maybe? Did it say Razor? R-A-H? Yeah, it said Razor in there.
I guess so.
Are they like hidden characters in here? They might be.
If it would beat it on easy, they would probably know.
Amusement park.
More levels.
We're halfway there! Shredder Slayers. Take my hand, we'll beat 'em, I swear. Whoa.
Use power-up items to enhance your combat strategies.
Who's next?
Now stay there.
You dare throw a ninja star at me? You guys with the guns can just jump off a bridge. Go ahead.
You guys can do better than that. I can never get too much pizza. Turtle power. Oh yeah. Too cool. You need a timeout. Hey, yeah. Level time, keep on coming. Heads up, bros.
Thank you for getting that blue guy. He was pissing me off just showing up.
Who's next? And around. Catch up.
Pretty much it's Streets of Rage when they do that.
No one shut the power off when they left the place. That is not safe. Yeah. Yeah.
Jamie, go ahead and join in.
Sleeping.
So is Alpha.
timeout.
Now that thing Ann was asking for, y'all only have the kids versions of those, or
Fire tablet?
yeah, because that's what I have. The one I showed y'all in Polo that I fixed, that's what she's asking for, and it was like $50 Black Friday.
Sorry, dude. I forgot my.
But I
We
also
have other ones. They're just the only ones we have in stock at the store.
well, what do they cost? Like 100?
I think it was like 80 something.
And they have Prime. I guess she thought maybe y'all might have the hookup because you might as well just get that
The
online.
lesser of the discount or the sale price.
Yeah. All right, Creep is down. 2 more stages left. So another 15 minutes. As long as you're awake for when we fight Shredder, that's all I care about. Krang? Oh no, Krang is Dimension X. Thought I saw like an eyeball or something over here though, but it's probably a different stage.
Fantastic.
I feel like Leatherhead shows up more than Leatherhead.
You said Leatherhead shows up more than Leatherhead?
Than Metalhead.
No.
Yeah. That's what it feels like. But
You need a timeout. Pizza! Well, more pizza. But still. Turtle power! Awesome! I'm a superhero! Turtle power! Yeah! Yeah! Shock it all, baby!
know. I'm trying to jump in. Press plus.
Your controller? I mean, you're back in now.
Okay, never mind.
I always wanted to see a turtle.
Yeah, this one, Razar. I don't remember him.
Why don't we see him last time?
Do you remember fighting him?
I don't remember fighting him.
You know this is gonna hurt, right? Try hard. Get out of my way. Doing that.
I wonder if certain difficulties have certain bosses you don't have to fight.
Doing that.
We're on 0 continues, by the way.
Try hard.
Smack.
Game over, boy. Yeah, boy.
Yeah! So look at that. Krang, Razar. Maybe we did fight Razar and just don't remember. Alright, Dimension X, let's do it.
Go, baby, go.
Y'all aren't joining us?
Oh. Are you gonna play?
You're not even gonna play for Shredder?
Build the button by fighting.
It's like Shredder.
We'll see how you guys do.
Turtle power.
You said, been saying that for a while now. Jamie's gonna go to sleep on purpose when we get Shredder. Because you're like, we'll see how you guys do. Now, for whatever reason, we can't beat this on easy. That's gonna be... Yeah. I think I'll take a week off of streaming. You asshole, you shot me.
Surrender is optimal.
Dang it. I was about to use mine, but yeah.
turtles known as destroy the ones called turtle power. I'm a superhero! Yeah! Yeah! The ones
You need a timeout.
They just keep appearing through these portals.
It is the turtles known as turtle power. Oh yeah, it is the one. Too cool. Destroy the ones. Shell shocked.
Now I have you annoying reptile. There's where I want you.
Oh no.
Krang! No, this is not fair.
So it's Krang in like his like super version or whatever. You got your power, by the way.
Wanted destruction.
I love it. Stop it. Reptiles, this is not fair.
This is not fair.
Be annihilated.
Yeah, you will be defeated by us right now. Hyper combo finish!
Now my plan is ruined. You failed, reptile.
Okay, I'll say it.
Booyakasha!
Go ahead and get that.
Surrender is
You need a timeout.
So did Jonas say he was going the Lucky 32 tomorrow?
Yep.
Oh, they are?
Yep.
So you got one for what, 6?
Yep. 6 people at 7:30.
7:30, I think. Are y'all dressing up?
I'll probably wear a dress.
All of them down.
I'm not gonna like, you know, I don't expect him to wear a suit or anything. But I'll probably wear a dress.
They watch you.
It's supposed to be raining tomorrow.
The stupid Ah.
It's supposed to be raining all day. High 60, low 40.
'Cause I wanted to do Adventure Landing tomorrow, but it's supposed to be raining.
ring the bell thing after.
Oh!
Well, it says tonight to
Oh, my bad.
Tonight's for partly cloudy. You get followed by a frequent cloud with showers at midnight. Tomorrow day it says few showers, cloudy conditions later in the day, high near 60. Winds likely variable,
Pizza!
40% during the day.
Okay.
But still.
Night cloudy with rain developing after midnight, low near 40. Winds 60, 5 to 10 per hour, chance of rain 80%. Rainfall near a quarter. So we just need to look outside and see if it's raining. Basically.
You need a timeout. Who's next? Logo time.
We gotta play fake tag.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Too cool.
Kneel before the genius of Frank Surprise.
You and me, robot.
Yeah! You idiots don't have a chance.
Hey, yeah.
Now, if only we can do Super Shredder like this, where we got one continue left and we can keep our health up.
That was a close one. I love being a turtle.
Alright, y'all. This is it. So join back in.
Part 2.
Don't call it a comeback.
Who am I now?
I thought I already hit it. Yeah, I did. Somebody else in there.
Oh wait. Is that what we're doing?
Pick up and throw objects at your opponent.
This guy should have hired an interior designer. This place stinks.
Alright, so now we got all 4 turtles back.
I was trying to be Michelangelo, but you already had it.
This way, guys. We'll use this shortcut.
just get the Karai without losing too many lives.
You really know how to make a girl feel welcome.
Who said you're welcome?
Scrivener, this should be entertaining. This is fun. Not bad. Your master has taught you well.
It's good.
This is fun. Not bad. 1, 2, 3. This is fun. Nice try. Not bad. This should be entertaining.
Just fuck you, bitch.
Ninjas get it done.
Ninjas get it done.
Those no It is the turn of the
Okay,
I feel like we got here quicker.
we did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. It is on easy.
Who needs it? Leonardo, take it.
What's the time? No, sure.
I will deal with you myself. You interfere in my business for the last time. Today you meet your end.
Turtle power. Let's get this done.
Fall by my hand.
Double time. It's good.
Told you we were gonna fuck you up this time, and we are. Michelangelo, get the pizza.
Donatello had the pizza.
Okay, I got the other one. Damn, he knocked me into New Jersey. I almost got him. Okay, somebody has a turtle power to use on the Super Shredder for him.
Alright, fingers crossed.
No, because then we can't mash buttons.
Prepare to know why they fought me.
Alright, Alex.
This is the end, Turtles.
And we still have 2 continues.
They will not save you.
You're not my collection. Oh, are you? That was because.
Oh no.
Cause fuck you. Damn.
We fight with honor, but I fight.
Asshole came and killed me. I'm knocked out, y'all. It's up to y'all now. Michelangelo has 3 lives left. You got, and so does Leonardo. Y'all have to do it.
Had enough, punk?
Yeah.
Leonardo, you're still in it.
It's go time.
Y'all got this. Yes! Oh man.
Yeah, we did it.
And we did it together.
And we lost together. Oh. I didn't know we had to rescue her.
And then now she fights Shredder, really?
Now you
Yeah.
want to rescue yourself?
Yeah, take that, Shredhead. Thanks for the save, guys.
Where the hell is Splinter?
Thanks for the assist, April.
Yeah, we can. Really? You did it without her?
Like, you seriously think?
All the voice acting in this game, and they couldn't do voice acting here? I'm trying to understand why it has. Oh, we were all both of us knocked out. It should say knockout
Look
on
at my
reference.
score, baby.
Yeah, you're the leader. 158, proud of you.
Thank you,
Yeah.
baby.
Yeah, we didn't get the level complete bonus, but for whatever reason, Raph got nothing.
Yeah, it's weird.
Oh, that is weird.
They didn't give me the boss bonus because I didn't live to finish the second one.
2 games beat this year.
Yep. Whew.
Look at how many enemies defeated points I got. I got 19,000.
Yep.
Proud of you, baby.
You got the good boss bonus though.
All right, y'all, we did it. Like, Dom, sub. Not exactly Mario Party, but we will see y'all next time with some of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's gonna be the game on normal for you guys.
No. They do have the high scores for all these levels here, though. That's kind of a weak ending, though, for it.
Yeah.
I wonder if you unlock April after doing all that. 2 hours and 37 minutes.
Exactly 1 hour here.
1 hour, 6 minutes. 2 seconds.
Nope, no extra characters.
Wow.
Nothing. Alright, we're out.
Nice.
Peace. For myself, for Vicky, for Jamie, and for Alpha Dog Wolf, we will see you in the next one.